We're going to start off by having a look. This is probably the biggest chunk. This is like 3 minutes. And it's really trying to drill down. And what I did was I thought, oh, there's a good starting point. But then it went too long, the actual clip, and I found a different starting point within that conversation. So you really need to go and watch this whole thing yourself to get the full context, obviously. But we'll give you as much as we can as we go. This first part of the conversation is asking, is it a crime to bomb another country's diplomatic building? And it's based a little bit around, oh no, that's it. So this comes back to what happened in Damascus. And we saw that interview last week with the British journalist asking this sort of question. And this is where Jack also goes with the Israeli ambassador. From the Israeli ambassador, is it a crime to bomb another country's diplomatic building? And to be honest with you, the Israeli ambassador deflects quite a lot, as you'd probably expect. I mean, we might not get through the whole of this. We might just give it a minute or so and then move on, because we've got a lot to get through.
Someone who has worked in diplomacy for many years now, would you agree that it violates international norms for a country to bomb another country's diplomatic quarters?
I guess it's all a question of what is the purpose.
What?
If you refer to the bombing...
See, that's actually wrong already, because it doesn't matter what is the purpose. It's clear in the Geneva Convention you're not to do that. It's clear.
In Damascus, that Israel did not yet assume even responsibility for. And then it was a meeting of only military personnel, which by the Geneva Convention turns anything from hospital to a diplomatic mission into a legitimate military target. It wasn't the consulate. If you look at the pictures and people try to ignore it, the consulate, as we speak, still stands surrounded by a fence.
No, he's wrong. I've done a bit of research on this when I saw that. The embassy wasn't hit. The building next door is called the consulate. That was hit. I did have a link to it. I mean, anyway. So people have been saying the embassy was bombed. No. Wow. The embassy is still there, but the consulate was next to it, and that consulate was what was bombed. And either way, it was still on, quote-unquote, Iranian soil, because it was a part of their compound.
And the building next door, outside the perimeter, that was rented by the Revolutionary Guards, is the one that was hit. And if people want to dwell into the Vienna Convention on diplomatic rights, it says that the hosting country needs to protect the premises of any diplomatic mission. The fact that it wasn't protected may mean that it wasn't a diplomatic mission, and the responsibility of the hosting country is Syria, not Israel. There's nowhere any text in any convention about a third party during war aiming at the headquarters of the enemy. And I think no one would deny the fact that Iran declared itself already 4 decades ago as the enemy of Israel, and the October 7 was basically an Iranian operation via a proxy.
How would Israel respond if what it considered to be one of its diplomatic premises was bombed by another country?
If it was used for perpetrating the killing of other people, or if it's just an innocent, honest-to-God diplomatic premises? This is the question.
So we'll leave that there, because what he does now is he plays word games with it. And the thing that happens twice in this conversation, at least twice that I've got for you guys, is he has to go to a place because of his previous statement that you kind of go, oh, my bullshit nerves going off. So what he's about to say is, yes, if Israel's building was a legitimate target, then that would be fair enough, which of course he doesn't believe. Not a million, but because he's just said that, he has to stick by that. That comes up again, Shelby, when he's talking about using human shields, which we'll get to a bit later on. But look, I'm going to leave that part right there because there's still like 5 clips to go. You're already wowing in the background. What else do you want
to? There's so much there. What an absolute twat. Okay, so military personnel in a group, no matter where that is, legitimate military target. Shall we talk about that, shall we? No, you can't bomb a military hospital.
Yeah.
That is something in the Geneva Convention very clearly. To say such a thing is just monstrous. Again, military staff in a US embassy, legitimate military target apparently. And we wouldn't do such nasty things with our embassies. in diplomatic headquarters. The Mossad has been doing assassinations, justified or no, for as long as Israel's been around. They staged assassination hits out of their embassies hunting Nazis and so forth. The people that did the Munich Olympic Games attack. Like, he's playing us for fools, and it's just such weak arguments. And he's got all of these things, of course, like it wasn't us that hit that building, but
We didn't say that. He said that Israel is yet to confirm, but he didn't quite say it wasn't us.
yeah, we'll just shift these pieces around on the table and pretend we didn't do it.
Yep.
What an absolute monster. And I know ambassadors have to stand up for the state and try and justify it, but this is disgusting.
Yep. All right. Well, get ready to get more disgusted. So this part of the conversation, they've just come from a chat where they were making the Israeli ambassador was making a justification for death in war, saying it saves lives in the future. So I'm paraphrasing because there's not enough time to show you everything. That they've just talked a little bit about how, for example, civilians die, that sort of thing. And yes, that happens in war and all wars. But what you're trying to do is protect lives in the future. And obviously he wasn't talking about Palestinian lives, but that's what's just happened before this part, just to give you a bit of context. And then we go on with it from here.
So, Ambassador, if we should be thinking about the lives that will be saved in the future when we think about the justifications for Israel's incursion, are you saying that under that thinking, Israel would theoretically be justified in killing every child in Gaza if ultimately that destroyed Hamas?
Absolutely not.
So where is the line?
The line is not
How
in the
far does the moral justification extend?
Let's agree on one thing.
No.
Once Hamas laid down their arms, more children will be saved on both sides, more civilians, and the region at large will come down. Everything will de-escalate.
I will agree.
So
I will agree with that point. I will agree with
on
that point if you will agree with mine, and that is that Israel still has agency. Yes, Hamas might use the civilian population for barbaric purposes. It might shelter within civilian communities. But ultimately, Israel is still the one hitting the button, deciding to discharge a 2,000-pound bomb in one of the most densely populated communities in the world. It is still an Israeli munition that is blowing apart a child's body, tearing limbs off it, that is destroying buildings, that is crushing people. Israel has agency in these decisions.
Absolutely. And those decisions are examined before, during, and after by legal experts who are specialized in international law and the law of warfare.
Really?
Yes, Stewie?
He needs to get better experts. But the article that I read that said that they're using AI to designate targets with very little human oversight.
Interesting. You still there? Oh, Chewie might have frozen. Right, let's keep going with the interview.
And you have to always consider the right of self-defense. And we claim this is part of our right of self-defense. The idea that we have a right to kill everyone is definitely wrong, and it's not our idea. But the idea that
why
we have
killed
to...
so many thousands of innocent people?
Why?
Yes, why?
Because for the reason Hamas is hiding under them, not even among them sometimes, because that they choose schools, community centers to shoot rockets from. Now, to stop those rockets, do we have or don't we have, in order to stop rockets from being shot from a school, a UN compound, to shoot back, or are we supposed to die?
Ambassador, no one is defending.
One thing that I was left with this conversation, Chewie, is how much of the victim card the ambassador played all the way through. You know, I don't know where exactly would fit on, you know, kind of the world stage when it comes to military might, but it must be top 10 Israel must be top 10 with, even though it's little, for military might, because they're funded by and supplied by the US. I don't know if that's fair or not, but they're not going to be not top 1 or 2, but they'd be up there in the top 10, 15 in the world. And in other words, far more powerful than Gaza and some of those smaller areas around them. But what I got from this conversation was so much was played as the victim card, but what about? But did you see this? But what happened to us? But what about Israeli children? But what about, a lot of that all the way through this conversation was me going, you're talking about Israel like it has no agency, speaking to what Jack said before, like it's the ones that are suffering the most here. There's some horrific atrocities have been committed against Israel in the last 6 months. We all know about that. We've talked about that. But that's still being a justification for now killing 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, whatever it's going to end up being, the number, and still playing the victim card for what happened on that day. That's a big part of what I took away from this whole conversation.
There's no equivalence here. Israel is the big military power in the region. They are the most technologically advanced military power in the region. A peer state launched a massive drone and missile barrage on Israel just last week, and nothing got through.
Yeah.
Nothing. They're drawing an equivalency for Hamas firing homemade, bodged-together Mad Max rockets from an area smaller than Auckland as a justification for flattening every hospital, for letting people starve, for not supplying power or water, for drone striking children and aid workers with just such reckless, unrestrained abandon that any victim card here has flown out the window.
Yeah.
They have the high ground. They can show restraint. They can show devastating tactical pinpoint accuracy when they want to. And this has been my whole thing through this response that Israel's come. There is no restraint. There is no pinpoint. There is no... It's just devastating and indiscriminate. And I think here we are 4 months in. You can't call it anything else but ethnic cleansing, because what's happening here in Gaza is monstrous. There's also bullshit happening on the West Bank as well. The rate of attacks on Palestinians has increased. The rate of evictions and the closing down of neighborhoods has increased. Those two things are linked. This isn't a proportionate response.
Yeah.
This isn't the big dog going, you can throw some punches and we'll take it and we'll choose the time for our response.
And what Jack does very well in this is they talk about the proportion. He goes, the Israeli ambassador goes, what do you expect? We should go into a party in Gaza and kill 327 people there, and we should go into the houses in one area and kill 1,000 people there. But the point that Jack's already made, and you heard it in the last conversation and continues to make, is, okay, but what is a fair number? What do you think? Because at the moment it's like 1,500, 2,000 versus 40,000. So at what point is that going to be an okay? What point does it get to be not okay anymore? Let's play this next part, and I'm going to skip the rest of that last conversation, so you'll need to go and check it out for yourself, because you mentioned famine, and they ask about that. They ask about the famine, and he sort of he doesn't quite say it's a lie, there's no famine, but he does put some caveats around it.
So if Israel has acted so responsibly, how do you explain the famine?
I don't think there is famine at large. There are a few pockets.
A few pockets of famine.
Yes.
Gaza
I can show you clips and
from the north to the south of Gaza, that kind of pocket. That's the pocket that there is.
Videos of the markets in South Gaza, in North Gaza, where the IDF has asked people to evacuate. The UN is incapable, simply incapable. There are, as we speak now, and maybe on the weekend there will be more, there are over 700 trucks in Gaza, parked within Gaza, that Israel has authorized with food, waiting for the UN to disperse. The UN is incapable of dispersing this food in the same rhythm it has entered. And it has doubled itself from the beginning
Perhaps
of the
the
war,
aid workers,
because it's a learning cycle.
Perhaps aid workers don't want to be in Gaza because they don't trust they won't be bombed by the IDF.
We had only one case in which we made a mistake. We admitted it immediately after investigation.
3 times!
And the second day after, joint command for the aid agencies, the IDF and the UN, was constructed on ground to coordinate those convoys. There is no book that I know of where you can get instructions.
Now he just basically goes on to say, oh, this is a hard war. There's never been anything like it. It's not like Donald Trump. Never been anything like it. And tries to explain away why that actually happened.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, we've only made one mistake. I mean, it was 3 mistakes over an hour and over 3 kilometers. Like, you read about those aid workers getting hit, and you tell me that was a mistake. You tell me that Israel has so many drones and with such good cameras and night vision over that area all the time, and you can't tell me that they can't identify an aid convoy. You can't tell me that they can't identify 11 children in a playground as a legitimate military target.
Yeah, because you can't have it both ways, can you? Because they talk about, in this interview, he talks about our world-leading technology, and he does say in this week we're being restrained because we could have just, flattened Gaza at any stage. Like, he says that. And like you say, you can't have it both ways. You can't be world-leading, you can't have all this technology, you can't be precise in what you're trying to do and blow up a playground with children playing in it. You can't have it both ways. You either say we're troglodytes with the technology of the caveman and we made mistakes, or you say we're precise so much that we can defend what we're doing and then not blow up playgrounds. You can't have it both ways. You can't say that, oops, that was a mistake, but we're very precise and we do this. No. You can't have, it doesn't work. It's all or nothing.
The only weapons we have are unguided 2,000-pound gravity bombs. We can't really control where they go. Come on, man. You just don't want to spend the GPS-guided weapons on playgrounds.
Yeah. Hey, let's get to the last part of this that we're going to have a look at tonight. As I said, just go and watch the whole thing. I encourage you to. They were talking about children who survive. So the children who survive this, what does the Israeli ambassador think that they're going to be like in the future? Like, because they're talking about, if Hamas lay down their arms, everyone would be safe, But Jack just says, well, what about the kids who have seen their parents and family and friends, blown apart by Israel? How are they going to be? Now, I'm going to play this in 2 parts, and I'm not actually going to give you his answer, because Jack asks the question, and then he goes into a long-winded, waffly story about him being in a restaurant that had a suicide bomber, and he doesn't hate the people who did the suicide bombing. It doesn't answer the question, so we're going to play this short clip, and then I'm going to jump straight to the point where Jack actually asks him the question again because he hasn't answered the question. So let's have a listen to the question to start with.
But absolutely vital to the future is somehow breaking the cycle of violence. You would agree with that, right?
How do we do that?
So I just want to understand, why won't Israel's response and approximately 34,000 deaths, approximately 13,000 children's deaths, ultimately lead to more terrorism against Israel?
Because the radical elements need to be replaced by those who have managed to accept the neighborhood with Israel, because the claim that Israel has no right to exist will always create the next generation trying to erase Israel.
Again, though, to my question, how will bombing Gaza stop people from becoming radicalized in the future? If you are, just imagine for a moment, you are a child.
We're not bombing Gaza.
Did you get that?
What?
Yeah, we're not bombing Gaza. Let's just play that again. We'll play it again.
With that,
How
right?
do we do that?
So I just want to understand, why won't Israel's response and approximately 34,000 deaths, approximately 13,000 children's deaths, ultimately lead to more terrorism against Israel?
Because the radical elements need to be
Of the Israeli
replaced
government.
by those
Yeah.
who have managed to
Now who?
accept the neighborhood with Israel, because the claim that Israel has no right to exist will always create the next generation trying to erase
Sure.
Israel.
Again, though, to my question, how will bombing Gaza stop people from becoming radicalized in the future? If you are, just imagine for a moment, you are a
We're
child
not bombing Gaza.
seeing, and you have seen destruction from Israeli munitions, you have seen family members, innocent family members
Yes.
killed. Why wouldn't you become radicalized?
Can I share a personal story?
If you answer that question, please, Ambassador.
And there he goes to tell the story about being in a shop with a suicide bomber, and shares his expressions of how he doesn't hate that person and doesn't hate the whole race because one of his friends was killed and he wasn't killed. But then Jack asks the question again. This is only 45 seconds, and we'll just let this play through.
Doesn't explain. Doesn't answer my fundamental question. My fundamental question is, why will a child who survives an experience whereby their entire community is destroyed, where they have innocent family members killed by Israeli munitions, why will they not hate Israel in the future? And I think that is a fundamental question that remains unanswered. I have a couple more questions
Let's
for you,
leave it
Ambassador.
unanswered, because I know of children, including my mother as a Holocaust survivor, who managed to grow out of her pains and anguish and live a full life.
She didn't have a Nazi state
and make peace
which she was living next door to anymore, did she?
She chose not to, but many Jews chose to.
There was not a
live
Nazi
with
state that
etc.
existed after the Second World War.
But there was
This
still
is the point,
Germany.
and there will be Gaza. Gaza will exist.
I hope so. I guess so.
Reporting.
Now I want to just repeat what was just said there, because Jack Thames says there will be a Gazan state, and the ambassador says, I'll play it again for you, says, I hope so. I think so. I think those are two words. Let's have a listen again.
But there was
This
still
is the point,
Germany.
and there will be Gaza. Gaza will exist.
I hope so. I guess so.
I hope so. I guess so is the answer from the Israeli ambassador to there will be a Gaza continuing after this. I do have one more clip, Chewy, but you're welcome to have a crack right now. The next clip is only like 25 seconds, and that's the last clip.
One of the things that is always the case when someone wants to downplay what's going on, right, is they focus down onto the current thing. Like this Hamas attack that happened in October came out of nowhere. There's no need for it, that sort of thing. Like the timeline of what Israel has done here, like there's no debate. There's no reason to debate it. This is monstrous what they've done, their actions, the amount of incidences and accidents that have happened.
There's only one. That's what they said. There's only one.
The random shootings, the reports of people being run over with bulldozers, the fact that every single hospital has been flattened. This is the only way that this solves the problem for Israel is if they expel or kill everyone in Gaza.
Yeah.
There's enough evidence to show that that's what they're trying to achieve. And this October attack, even the things that they said about that, there's been so much that they stoked people's outrage over that has been disproved.
The beheading babies. Yeah.
The fact that a lot of people from that music festival were killed by Israeli helicopters. It's I can't trust what Israel says at any point. There is so much doubt. There have been so many lies. There's been so much disseminating about what's going on. Why would we believe them at all at any stage? And I think that the fact that I threw in, I was just Googling stuff like Palestinian Air Force, because it's the Israeli Air Force that are doing these bombing missions, right? So the Palestinians should be putting up some defense. Oh, they don't have one. Palestinian tanks, they don't have any. A war is when two armies are fighting.
Yeah.
There's only one here, and it's they profess that they're trying to get the hostages out, but there's a non-stop bombing campaign, and if someone sticks their head above ground, they get drone strike. Like how many? We'll find out. The truth will come out. How many hostages have died
Yeah.
From the Israeli response.
But you know what they'll say, won't you? The Israelis will say,
Oh,
"We didn't-
yes.
it
Oh,
wasn't
yeah, yeah,
us.
no.
It was them."
Absolutely. But you can sum up this whole thing, what the Palestinians have been dealing with Israel, with an image that you can find from multiple decades, and it's frighteningly the same. There are versions of this with different tanks from different places and different times, but this is the same image over and over and over again of a kid chucking a stone at a tank, because that's what they've got. But this ambassador is making my blood boil.
Well, there's one more to come.
This is again why I can't be a politician, because I would have watched this, phoned up the embassy and said, pack your shit and get out and take the Russian ambassador with you.
I think, and I've obviously cut it as a part of I didn't mean to, but there was another part of this conversation where they were talking about human shields, and Jack says to the ambassador, if a terrorist used a child of yours, your child, as a human shield, and the response from the police was to kill both people, how would you feel about that? And of course, because he got stuck in the cycle of saying that you should, if human shields are being killed, it's Hamas's fault, he had to say, which obviously the bullshit nerve goes off. He had to say, well, if it was, as someone who's been in the military, if it was a just, action, then I would accept it. Yeah, good one. But he actually said that in the interview as well. But the last part I'm going to play for you is actually something more. This clip played on the news as well. Let me play it first, and then I'll ask you the question. I'll just play it first, and then I'll ask you the question. This is the last 25 seconds that we're going to show.
I know there are calls here to not take sides. Those times are over. New Zealand needs to take a side. Are they with the like-minded or not?
I agree
Are you
with
the
this,
like-minded or not? Are you with the coalition or not? And to what extent? This is an internal decision. But sitting on the fence, when it comes to world peace, and it's not Israel that denies the world from its peace.
So if he's saying to New Zealand, it's time for New Zealand to choose a side, and my question, I guess, is if New Zealand was forced to take a side, which side would they pick? I know, I'll leave it at that before I pontificate. Which side would New Zealand pick? Because he might be surprised.
The state of Israel is not a friend of New Zealand. Like, we've expelled their ambassador before, and we expelled their entire diplomatic mission because it was Mossad agents stealing the identities of dead New Zealand children so they could create trusted passports to do their work around the world, which put every New Zealander that travels under a New Zealand passport at risk. And when they were caught, Helen Clark booted them all out. Israel is not a friend to New Zealand. And we don't need, if we have to pick, if someone says you need to pick a side, and that's the person telling you that is the person that is basically carpet bombing a city full of children, then my instant reaction is, yes, we do need to pick a side. It's not yours.
And as Paula said very clearly there, you've said Israel is not our friend. Paula says, and the state of Palestine is not our enemy. And I guess the concern that would strike up straight away, and I can see it in the chat as well, when we say New Zealand has to pick a side, if that's the case, you have got a group of evangelical Christians at the top of the food chain in the New Zealand government at the moment. And if they're not evangelical Christians, they are evangelical Christian aligned, because that's who votes for them. Like Winston Peters, for example, I suspect would have a pretty good representation amongst his voters being evangelical Christians. Obviously, Christopher Luxon is one, as is a bunch of his cabinet. I think possibly David Seymour would be similar, that he'd have plenty of people in his voting base that was on that side of a religion, I guess. So that's the other concern, that if it was to pick a side now, who would they pick?
You know what I was thinking the other day, because I saw a clip of someone talk about the two-state solution, right?
Yeah.
And that's often held up as being the solution for this whole thing. If you look at a map of what that two states would be, that's an unworkable position for the Palestinians. They have two areas and no way to travel between them without going through Israel. And Israel's constantly nibbling away at the edges of the West Bank and putting up illegal settlements and all of that sort of stuff. So that's clearly not going to work. We've tried it. I almost think that the only way it would work is if you did something like what they did post-apartheid in South Africa, like the big truth and reconciliation sort of things, where they try to mend some bridges. But at the moment, all Israel's doing is blowing up anything even resembling the pieces of a bridge before it even gets built. Again, they are creating so many radicals. How the protests here in New Zealand and the ones that I've seen here in Dunedin, the people that have got up and listed off the sheer amount of their relatives that are dead, the sort of weight that creates an immovable hatred or an absolutely crushing despair.
Yeah.
There's like I can't even wrap my brain around it. So if Israel's going to the point of this is to secure Israel and make sure that this never happens again, they mean a genocide. And all the evidence is pointing towards that. They want to push people out of Palestine, so they out of the Gaza Strip, so they cannot come back, or they want to make sure that there's no survivors. And when that ambassador said we're not bombing Gaza, my brain went, we're bombing Israel. We're bombing an area of Israel that inconveniently has a lot of Palestinians living on it. You know, we're trying to solve that problem. Like, to bring up the international community, to drop in mention of the Holocaust ever so casually in this interview. Like, Israel has cruised off the fact that it was a Western outpost surrounded by Soviet client states throughout the Cold War. They were the bastion of democracy in an area that was very anti-West. But we have to look at their actions now and how they're behaving and go, these guys are not on our team. They don't stand for the things that we as an international community want to see. They lie. They distort. They don't show restraint. All of these things that we say, never again. And we are watching it in much higher definition than we've ever seen before. We're watching it happen again. So yes, in my opinion, we do need to pick a side, and it's not Israel. It's not the state of Israel. Their government is out the gates, and we haven't seen a lot of what the people of Israel think about this. Like, not a full representation. We've seen the hardliners, but the guys in Israel that are going, well, this is not my fight. There's nothing I can do about it. They need to get off the fence. They need to stand up and be counted that this is being done in their name.
It's funny you mentioned truth and reconciliation. The reason truth and reconciliation worked was because of a black leader in South Africa. That means if it was going to be parallel to what's happening now, it's actually got nothing to do with Israel. That would have to come from Palestine, because the stories about black South Africans forgiving, moving past, it was them who actually chose to kind of put down the utu to then move forward. I've already written down an email I did some work with a guy called Rob Harley, who used to be a TVNZ journalist, and he retells the story of a mother, and the mother is in the court, literally a truth and reconciliation, talking, I think, I'm going to try and get it and I'll play it tomorrow night, I think talking to like the white police officer who killed her son, and the stories told how the mother forgave and moved on, and that was the reason it worked. So if you mention that today, I straight away think that has to come from within Gaza. That has to come from the Palestinians, because that would be akin to it coming from South Africa, from the black South Africans. So it's a fascinating thought, Chewy. It possibly is the only way that it could ever work and that is for Palestinians to be able to forgive and move forward. As horrific as that sounds sitting here today, you know, because again, the Palestinians, we're talking about the people. People have done nothing here other than get bombed. In that interview as well, the ambassador talked about, well, they elected them. And Jack was very good. He went, so did any of the babies elect them? Well, no, but, you know, it's like actually the children who are being blown up and killed, did they elect them?
It's been over 10 years
2006,
since there was election in Gaza.
Nearly 20.
So we've spoken about this on the show before. With the majority, the population of Gaza is very, very young. So a big chunk of it had no chance to vote for anybody.
Kia ora again, whānau. The clip you've just watched is brought to you today by our patrons. If you want to be a part of what we do, if you want to get behind what we're doing, if you're enjoying our content and wanting to share our content, then maybe you would consider being a patron to Big Hairy News. Head to www.patreon.com/Big Hairy News to sign up to one of our levels and be a patron. At this point, we are only a listener and viewer supported show. It all comes down to you guys. If you feel like jumping on board to help, then head to patreon.com/Big Hairy News. Hooroo!